two new guys, Perry Walton, who comes from the Jacksonville Jaguars, the guy who played for Ohio State in the early 90s, Tim Walton, and Perry Eliano, who comes from Cincinnati, where they just had two of the top cornerbacks in the country this year, are going to run the secondary together. Technically, Tim Walton's title is secondary coach / cornerbacks coach. Perry Eliano is safeties coach, but they're going to work in conjunction to build this secondary back up to where it needs to be. The last 2 years, it's been right around the 100th ranking, which is way down for what Ohio State's defense should be. I mean, I wrote something today, and I said basically, if they want to claim BIA, Best in America, which is what the acronym that they use, that's not the standard. So it's got to get back to that. And I think both guys showed well in their interviews. They said a lot of the right things. Perry Eliano talked about, just kind of opening his heart to his players. And, he said he talked with Kobe Bryant and Ahmad, I forget his
Gardner.
last name. There you go. Before, when he first got to Cincinnati in 2020, about, what do you guys want to do? What do you want to go? And how do we fit this in the team? And they both said they wanted to be All-Americans and NFL draft picks. And he said, if you guys open yourselves up, are willing to take in my coaching, we're going to get you there. And he delivered. So it's going to be the same type of conversations with the current Buckeyes. And obviously, he's starting, again, not to take anything away from the Cincinnati program, but he's starting at a bit of a higher level with the way that Ohio State's recruited and whatnot. So on that front, I think it sounded great. Tim Walton was very happy to be back at Ohio State. He said there's been opportunities or conversations, I guess I should say, about him coming back to Ohio State in the past. It just hasn't ever worked out timing-wise. Everything going on with the Jacksonville Jaguars, there was a real opportunity here. And we've talked on when I've been on before with you, Mark, about kind of the things that people have said about him, Jalen Ramsey being the quote that kind of got out there and circled around. So I think they've got two good coaches in the secondary there to fit in under Jim Knowles' defense. These guys are just kind of getting started working together. The day that we talked to the assistant coaches was their first day all together at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. They'd all been out recruiting, so it had been kind of back and forth. So they're really all starting to get to know each other here, but it really looks like and sounds like Ryan Day has obviously done his homework, but everything looks to be moving in the right direction for the Buckeyes.
To your point, Pat, if you believe in the total team talent rankings, you can go to 247 Sports. It's basically a composite of the entire roster, so not just one class ranking. Cincinnati at 54, Oklahoma State at 47, Ohio State 3. So there you go in regards to the athletes that they're going to work with on the defensive side. And yes, the offensive recruiting and players have been slightly higher ranked, but still you're probably talking top 7 or 8 in the country on the defensive side of the ball. And you got to think with JTT and with Jack Sawyer coming of age, hopefully in their second season. Zach Harrison needs one more audition for the NFL. That, man, the best friend of the secondary is a pass rush, and they could have a devastating one if some of those guys come near their potential.
Sure, and Larry Johnson is the lone holdover on this defensive staff. Everyone knows how good Larry Johnson is. I don't think there was any fear that he was going to be let go. I think the big fear was he going to retire? And that's a conversation that comes up really every offseason because he's been doing this forever. He's an older guy, but the Caden Curry, one of the defensive linemen that we talked to, incoming freshman, said, Larry Johnson told him he would be here. He has no concerns about that for his future. So we'll see how long Larry Johnson remains in coaching, remains at Ohio State. But for this year, he's the guy that's back. He's going to be leading that defensive line room once again. And, more often than not, Larry Johnson finds a way to get the job done. And, you mentioned JTT and Jack Sawyer. I'll be very interested to see how both of them are used. Jim Knowles at Oklahoma State had, I think he called it a Leo position, which is like a hybrid defensive end linebacker that can kind of move around a little bit, make it hard for offenses to kind of read where exactly guys are coming from. Those are two guys that, with their athletic ability, could be in there. Zach Harrison as well, though I think you probably want to develop that a little bit. You may go the linebacker route and try out some of those guys. Cade Stover, who moved back to defense for the Rose Bowl and played a pretty good game back at linebacker after being at tight end the last 2 years. That's another guy just based on pure athleticism and whatnot that could kind of fixture at that point. So we'll see how that position, but that's going to be an interesting one to keep an eye on throughout spring. Who's working in that spot, because it's key to what Jim Knowles wants to do defensively. And Ohio State certainly has a number of athletic guys that fit that mold.